Hi, this is Zak Mir with a bank holiday special in terms of looking at the Bulletin Board Heroes stocks of the year to date. Obviously, we're approaching the autumn now. Let's see how many of these winners manage to make it to the end of the year. The first one is Altyn, which is probably the most consistent, one of the most consistent charts that we'll have in this selection. Rising trend channel there from the end of December, top of the channel currently pointing to £9.40, which we're looking for while we're above recent broken resistance around the £6.50 level. Interesting that at the end of last week, we actually had the shares gapping up through resistance, something that suggests that there is extra momentum in here. The other point to note, I suppose, is that even though we got to higher highs for the end of August, lower RSI level, so potentially bearish divergence, but I'm going with the gap and I'm going with the trend that we've had for the all of the year to date on this particular situation. On to Borland's, which I know one of the more senior private investors is up to the eyeballs in this one. Here you can see that we hit the top of that rising trend channel around 10 pence. Ideally, we'd like to see recent support towards 9.5 pence hold ahead of a move up to 14 pence. In other words, if we can stay above 9.5, we're looking for 14 by the end of October, something like that. Ideally, also, we stay above RSI 50, which we've managed to do since the middle of last month. Onto a stock which I haven't looked at for a while, largely because it's been in a consolidation, but it had a great first half of 2025. Here we've got Cora Gold, and here you can see that we're just breaking back above the 50-day line, so it may be the start of a new bullish phase. Rising trend channel there from September last year, top channel there pointing to 12 and three quarters. Maybe that could be an end of year target for the stock, while we remain above recent support around the 5.6 pence level. I suppose the other point to note is that we have broken a line of resistance there just at the end of last week around the 6.4 pence level. So above that, looking for the shares to nearly double by the end of this year. On to one of the new winners of the year, which was Capai. Here you can see that even though we've been in a range basically since the spring, we're in the middle of that range now. We had the big push higher for March to May, and the rest of the price actions basically just been consolidation. While we're above that 50-day line at 0.43, looking for the top of the range again, up to zero point 0.9 pence by the end of next month. And obviously, if you're conservative, you'd be looking for that by the end of this year. But the key here is, I think, staying above that 50-day moving average level. Big revival in Cobra. Obviously, rare earths become the new rock and roll, and this, along with Harina and Altona, and even Rainbow, I suppose, back in vogue. You can see that we've broken two targets here. The last one was around 2 pence, and above that, we're looking for 4 pence at a resistance line projection from the end of 2020. So that is quite a big level to get to. In terms of the near term action there, ideally, we stay above the latest gap there, around 3.25 pence. But as you can see, the shares have basically been vertical since April. And given the lay of the land, little reason to think that that will not remain the case for the rest of the year. On to Defence Holdings, which is a personal favourite of mine. And here, it'd be great to know more about the company. But here we've gapped through recent resistance from July around the 0.49 pence level above that. Looking for zero point 0.8 pence as soon as the end of September. And you can see RSI 50 rebounds or RSI 50 plus rebounds, as well as the unfilled gap to the upside, suggesting this is a stock on the move. And I believe there's a company presentation on Twitter about to be, or X about to be unleashed very soon as well. Moving on to Empire Metals, where we've had the shares in that steep rising trend channel from March, looking for 45 pence on that. Hopefully by the end of September. Hopefully not too much of an arduous task. Best case is that we go into a deeper acceleration heading towards 55 or even 60 pence by the end of October. But let's see if we can get to 45. While we remain above the recent broken July resistance around 34 pence on an end of day close basis. Fiinu came back to life the first part of this year, especially in recent weeks. We had the spike through towards 17 pence, but currently waiting to see where the support will come in. Ideally, it comes in on the right side of 10 pence as a minimum. But lucky it will come in above 11.5, recent support. But at least while we're above 10, looking for a return to the upper teens on Fiinu. One of the big transformations of the year, and we've had lots of them, is or has been Hamak. We're off the best levels now, and that I suppose the recent news there was Nicola Horlick turning up, which was obviously interesting. Here we've got rising trend channel there from April. The key here is that we stay above the old July resistance at 3.1 pence and the 50-day line at the same level. If we can do that, then one would be looking for a retest of the best levels, even though there has been a bit of a drift. But that 50-day line, I think the main barrier in terms of preventing the shares going back into a more bearish phase. No such concerns at Mast Energy, where the shares have blown the lights out and also gapped up at the end of last week as well. We've had various targets here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got the fifth one, which was broken at £1.40. Going for 6, which would be the £2.20 level, hopefully by the end of next month. And that was resistance on the way down 3-4 years ago. So quite a turnaround here. Looks like the shares are certainly back in business, and especially while we're above £1.40, looking for as high as £2.20. I think the shares up already 22x so far this year. So quite a good result, one could say. Another stock which has been transformed, I think probably with funding news as much as anything else, has been Pensana. Here the shares up 2.5x, which obviously is rather modest compared to the Mars situation. We've got a rising trend channel here, based at the 50-day moving average around 74 pence, and looking for the top of the channel there as high as 107 pence, maybe by the end of October. I think it's probably a conservative thing to do. We've got multiple support points in the RSI window above neutral 50. That suggests that momentum is still strong, and also multiple support points above the rising 50-day line, which tends to be a leading indicator on the upside as well. So looking great there. I complained about how many times I looked at Shields Therapeutics. Not quite sure I've been looking at why I've been looking at it so many times, but perhaps the chart gives a clue. Here we had an ambitious 6.75 pence target, the top of that rising trend channel base from May 2024, and above 6.75 now, looking for 10.5 pence, basically a retest of the old 2023 peaks between 10 and 11 pence, while we're above 6.75. On to the last two. One of the great winners of the recent past has been Thor Explorations, and you can see that we had our various targets. Well, actually two big targets. One was 33, the second one was 48. That leaves us looking for a fresh target, given that we have managed to hit both of those levels, and that would be derived by the lines I'm about to draw, if I can do it quickly enough. The rising trend channel here, based at the 50-day line around 42 pence, and the top of the channel there up towards the 60 pence level, it would appear, maybe a bit more than that actually, maybe as high as 65 pence by the end of October. So let's see if the shares can come up with the goods. Ideally, we stay above that price channel floor and that 50-day moving average area, so around 42 to 44 pence on Thor Explorations, ahead of a move towards the 65 pence area early in the autumn. Finishing off with the stock of the moment, where I see somebody's flagged there'll be news on Tuesday. I suppose there's going to be news every day now. Here you can see that the new Greatland Gold is obviously going from strength to strength at the moment. I think we're up 6x so far this year, which is perhaps only at the foothills if it's going to be a company which is going to be as big as Greatland. The market cap currently just under 40 million, above 1.45, which was our fourth or fifth target, lost count, looking for up to 2.15 pence, which was late 2023 resistance on the way down. That's it for me today. More updates in the usual way during the week.